It was a day of hot temperatures and record highs in parts of the Northeast. We have some showers and some thunderstorms running around in the South. A lot of dry weather, and that means fire risk from the Southwest to the Central Plains across to the lower Great Lakes. In the Rockies, we see heavy rain and snow and melting snow all combining to make one big mess. And we've got the weekend outlook in the long range. Where else but on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. As spring gets into full gear here, salt, sand, tops. Well, they don't need the salt. It's the sand, the topsoil, and the mulch. And turn your home into a botanical garden. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. The website is
omnitruevalue.com.
And also our new affiliate, Tempest. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. And there's all sorts of other weather merch, and join the fastest growing observing network on the planet. The link will be posted on the chat board and pinned to the top of the page. Joe.
It's pretty warm out there today. 91 at my house at 4:05 this afternoon.
I think we could use the word hot.
I think so.
Thankfully, the dew point, one good thing about when it gets hot in April and May and even in June, most of the time the dew points are in control, and it's not really uncomfortable. Of course, getting it this time of year means we've got all sorts of fire risks, so you got to watch for brush fires. There are some changes though, but before we get to that, Joseph, tomorrow. Now, the west wind tomorrow will probably be a little bit weaker and maybe more southwest, which would argue that temperatures could be a little bit lower. But on the other hand, the launching pad tomorrow morning is going to be that much higher. A lot of spots were down in the 40s this morning, but tomorrow morning it's going to be mostly 50s to around 60. I don't see what stops temperatures from doing a repeat performance.
It's a funny thing, looking at the GFS predicted or projected temperatures for today. There were a handful of places where the GFS underperformed in terms of the heat, and in other places where it overperformed, and one or two spots that were pretty much on target. So, I said, well, if that be the case, tomorrow, it'll be pretty much the same. Actually, maybe a degree cooler, if you can call temperatures in the high 80s to near 90 cool, but pretty much what we had today, I think pretty much is going to be the case for tomorrow as well, with dew points probably only in the 40s. So once again, it'll be hot, but at least it'll be dry.
Yeah, welcome to everybody on the chat board to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And for those of you lurking in the background, welcome also to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Thursday night, the 13th of April 2023. And we are on Monday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m., Sundays at 11 a.m. Now, this Sunday, you're off, which means that I'm soloing this Sunday at 11 a.m. So mark that down. Fridays and Saturdays, we're usually off unless there's a big storm going on, and we don't seem to be in any kind of danger of that happening. So hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and this way you won't miss a single broadcast of this wonderful production that we do 5 days a week. And if you like the show, hit the like button, because Joe and I, it makes us feel good if you hit the like button. It really does. It just warms our hearts. Does it not, Joe?
The cockles of our heart, yes.
Well, let's just, focus on the heart and not other areas. No matter. I actually had a tough time today. I didn't get out of the 60s because we had clouds roll in from this system that's been laying across the Gulf states. And actually, there was a fair round of severe weather that was going on in southern Georgia, the southern half of the state, mainly from Atlanta southward, over the last number of hours. That seems to have leveled off also. Thinking, I'm thinking at least for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, temperatures are going to be lower. And Saturday they might be significantly lower compared to today and to tomorrow, because I think there's going to be a lot more clouds and probably some showers that might be rolling through eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England during the afternoon and evening hours.
I feel kind of bad because the reason why I'm not going to be here this weekend is that at Rockland Community College in Suffern, New York, and all of you who are in the tri-state area who have an interest in astronomy or aeronautics, you might want to consider coming on out. This is the Northeast Astronomy Forum, where if you have an interest in buying something like binoculars or a telescope or a tripod or eyepieces for your telescope, come on down, because if they don't have it, you're not going to find it anywhere. This is the place to go to, and we're going to have fantastic speakers too. Eileen Collins, the very first woman ever to pilot a space shuttle and to command a space shuttle mission. She will be there along with a number of other famous speakers via Zoom. We're going to be able to communicate with Fred Hayes, Fredo, as he was lovingly known as in the movie Apollo 13. He was one of the three astronauts who were on that spacecraft that the command module, or not the command module, but the service module exploded. They had to loop around the moon quickly and come back to Earth as quickly as possible. He's going to be one of the speed 91, Joe, 91 years old, but he's going to be speaking to us via Zoom or via cyberspace. I feel bad because another aspect of this is that during Saturday and Sunday, there are telescopes and equipment set up outside of the community college, Rockland Community College, pointed up at the sun. And if you've ever, seen views of the sun, the prominences that leap up off of the disk of the sun and all kinds of great stuff, sunspots, that's what usually happens on Saturday and Sunday. You get to look at the sun through first-class instruments. But sadly, as you just mentioned, Joe, actually, it would appear right now to me that we're going to see an increase in high cloud cover tomorrow in the afternoon, thickening up tomorrow night. And I think pretty much Saturday, everybody's going to be socked in. And in fact, I think on Saturday, disagree with me if you feel that the need to, but I think sometime in the early to mid afternoon, we're going to begin to see some showers in the tri-state area. And we may even see by later Saturday into Saturday night some thunderstorm activity as well, all due to the remnants of that tropical feature that we've been watching for the better part of this week. It's been down over the southern states, working its way or lifting its way up in our direction. And so it looks like Saturday is going to be pretty much a washout. Sunday, I do have some hope, maybe showers or a rumble of thunder in the morning, and then perhaps in the afternoon, it may dry out enough to allow for some breaks or intervals of sun later in the day on Sunday. But overall, not anywhere. And the temperatures are going to be nowhere near the 80s or 90s. They're probably going to be in the 70s and 60s. Much, much cooler weather coming for the weekend as opposed to what we were dealt today and what we're going to be dealt tomorrow.
We're pretty much on the same page with that. Happy birthday to Anthony Spiraccio, his wife Trish, wishing Anthony, her husband, a happy birthday, and she has hit the tip jar. Thank you, Trish. Most appreciated for hitting the super chat tip jar. So on that note, why don't we get rolling here with the weather tonight? We have, given the kind of pattern we're in, I suppose it's not so unusual that you'd see all these red flag warnings, this big ridge that just kind of occupies the areas, or did occupy the areas from the Tennessee Valley to the lower lakes. It really just created this very large dry flow of air from the southwest to the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. So that's why you have all these red flag warnings that are up at the moment. It's also coming with a little bit of wind as they have, I think that gold is a high wind. Is that a high wind, or is it? Oh, here's a new one on me, Joe. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
A blowing dust advisory.
Oh.
They might have used that yesterday with that dust devil.
A
No,
blowing dust advisory? Now
I-
you'd expect to see that in Tucson, Arizona, I think, right?
well, the gold color, I just wanted to double check because as you know, my color delineation is not exactly up to snuff. Those are high wind warnings that are up for northwest Kansas and northeastern Colorado, but somebody's got a blowing dust advisory. Who's got the blowing dust advisory? I mean, maybe we should be running crawls underneath on our show here. This is actually in effect. This is from the National Weather Service in Dodge City, Kansas. Okay, blowing dust advisory remains in effect until 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's for Hamilton, Kearney, Stanton, Grant, Morton, and Stevens counties in that part of Kansas. Hazardous driving conditions due to reduced visibility. I don't think I've ever seen a blowing dust advisory.
I've driven in blowing dust. In 2012, I was out in Los Angeles. We were traveling from Los Angeles back to Phoenix, I believe. My wife, my daughter, and I, and it ain't fun to drive in a dust storm. Let's put it that way.
No, I imagine it's not.
They call stuff like that a haboob.
Oh, all right. That's so a haboob advisory.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We've got winter weather advisories up for, looks like from I-25 west in Colorado in a bunch of, but not all the counties. Also, we have winter weather advisories up in parts of Montana, northwest Wyoming, a couple of counties with winter storm warnings. And in the mix, we also have flood advisories for either rain, river flooding, or melting snows, or any combination thereof. Flash flood watches up. This is a new one here in parts of the Sierra Nevadas now. With all that snow, I would think that's going to be a problem. And also on the Nevada side, we have a flash flood watch up. And in the Northeast and back from Ohio to upstate New York, New Jersey, they've got this, faint orangey color. And that's just sort of, it was their special weather statement warning folks of the potential of brush fires. And we've got a little bit of severe weather tonight that's still going on. Severe thunderstorm watches for the coastal counties in Florida from Jacksonville southward to about Melbourne, Daytona, somewhere in there. And
did you hear about what happened in Florida today?
No, what happened?
Over the last couple of days? Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, they got a lot of rain on the coastal Florida, South Florida.
27 inches of rain in Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
And according to one, local forecaster there, or somebody who I guess looks into these sort of things, statistically, that was a 1 in 1,000 year event. Training. It was just ongoing training. It just never stopped in Fort Lauderdale. And when it was and it's not even over yet. It's still raining down there. But so far, as of I guess late afternoon, early evening, they have had 20. But people they actually showed on the CBS Evening News people in the streets swimming, using boats. The one guy, trying to drive his car and halfway up in the quarter panel. Is it just unbelievable amount of rain that has fallen in the Fort Lauderdale area over the last 24 hours, apparently. It's just incredible.
Well, I'm going to try and bring up the FLL radar. Well, let's go AMX. Now, why it used to be MIA and now it's AMX? I mean, could they have just left it alone? I mean, I don't know. Hold on a second. See if I can build a loop here. So let's do 12 hours. Okay, so let's do 12-hour loop and bring that up, and we can watch the developments there. Okay, so there you go. You can see FLL is Fort Lauderdale. So about 6 hours ago, there wasn't much happening. Wait a minute. Is this an old radar, or is it just a very long loop? Because it's not really showing much of anything. Now okay, here we go. So now we're starting to see, at least for late this afternoon, there it goes. There's another big thunderstorm with more heavy rain. and more, as you said, there's the training. You can see what's happening. It just basically developed overhead, and another round that developed overhead and just kind of sat there. That's pretty, this is, the setup was there for, you had this easterly flow of surface and aloft that ran basically from the Bahamas to through the southeast and across the Gulf states, and most of the rain was concentrated further to the south. But when we look on the satellite loop, you'll see the driver here is this upper low that is pretty well defined there, sitting in right in the middle of Mississippi, and it's moved. It was sitting on the Louisiana coast, and then there's this arm that goes east across southern Georgia, down the Florida coast, where we've got those severe thunderstorm watches up, and you see the lightning strikes that are showing up there on the loop, and that moisture's not really going in any particular direction. It's not lifting away to the north yet. It's still under the influence of that upper low. So until the upper low gets far enough north and opens up, they still will probably see some more rain, at least for another bunch of hours before it's all said and done.
It's I'm not sure if this was taken at the airport or the local weather office, if there is one in Fort Lauderdale, but 27 inches, just to put that into perspective, New York City, I believe, in the course of a year's time, New York City gets 42 inches of rain. That's the average.
So that's roughly 2/3 of the annual rainfall of New York City.
Right, falling on Fort Lauderdale in a matter of just a day or two.
Well,
crazy.
There is a flash flood warning that's still up for Fort Lauderdale in that particular. Let's take a look and see what that says. So this is a flash flood warning for southern Broward and County in southeastern Florida. Heavy rain, clearly, between 2 and 3 inches has fallen. Another 1 to 3 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing. That 27-inch number, that has to be over the last couple of days, because it certainly didn't happen during today.
Yeah, I could remember yesterday seeing reports.
It's been raining there, pretty much all through this work week.
Right.
I'm just trying.
A friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm going down to Florida. Is this like a good week to go to Disney World or whatever?" I said, "No, I think you're going to get a little wet." I said, "You might want to stay up here. It looks like a beautiful day or a series of days up here, and it's going to get real warm here toward the end of the week. So it might have been better to stay up here as opposed to go down into Florida."
Well, I'm on the Weather Service's radar site. Actually, it looks like the radar that they have up there it's better it looks a bit better than what they had. I'm trying to pull up the total precip. The problem is I don't know how far back this goes. So the red, you can see where that dark red is. That's south of Pompano to about Fort Lauderdale. So that dark reddish area is 15 inches or more. Okay, so there it is. It's just in that circle. And then there's a couple of other areas here where we're seeing also some 12-inch red area that I'm not sure exactly geographically where that is. Coral Springs is labeled across there, but I don't know where the dot is. But it's in that one small area that got pounded. Another area also showing up between West Palm Beach and I can't read that. Port St. Lucie, where we've got some big rain amounts that show up in small areas on from the radar, the radar of 12 inches plus. So
yeah, I just went to the National Weather Service site in Miami and clicked on the map where Fort Lauderdale is, expecting to see, hour by hour rain reports. There is nothing. There's no indication whatsoever about the sea level pressure, not available. They have altimeter readings there. Let me just take a look and see. Like, for example, here, Um, this is 7:53. Today is what? Today is the 13th. Okay, 7:53 a.m. on April 12th. Heavy rain. Next hour, rain. Next hour, light rain and breezy. Next hour, rain. Next hour, heavy rain. Heavy rain. Heavy rain and breezy. Thunderstorm, rain and breezy. Thunderstorm, rain and breezy. Thunderstorm, heavy rain. I'm reading off hour by hour reports here. Thunderstorm, heavy rain, fog. Thunderstorm, heavy rain, fog, and windy. Thunderstorm, heavy rain, fog. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, yesterday was a very wet day. Yeah, you're right, Joe. Probably the bulk of all of what came. And, and here you go, 5:53 a.m. That was the last report. I guess no reports from Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood International Airport since. Maybe all of the weather equipment got waterlogged after what they went through yesterday.
Yeah, Sal Paci on the chat board said it was 25 inches of rain from Tuesday into Wednesday in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm on the city-state zip code search to get the weather history, okay? And apparently the page is not working, because then at least we could look at the obs and add up, the rainfall amounts that were measured. No, not working. Can't do it. We tried. The world we live in. All right, so so here's the wide view. Look at the signature there, in central Mississippi of the upper low. I mean, that's a really well-defined upper low that's driving all this. And you've got these bands of showers and thunderstorms, and a bunch of special marine warnings are up right now in that area that's got that severe thunderstorm watch. Still have some echoes there in South Florida. If you're in West Florida, you're like, what's, we don't know what's going on. None of that's happening here.
What are they talking about?
Yeah. Bands of showers also now into South Carolina, pushing back up into eastern Tennessee. In the west, we've got some showers, and looks like one severe thunderstorm warning has popped up in southwest Kansas as of 7:57 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got precip going on in Montana, which is rain or snow, depending on your elevation. And we've got some precip that is moving into the Pacific Northwest. The Storm Prediction Center there was a tornado watch up, as I said, in Georgia. That's done. The severe thunderstorm watch along the Florida north and central on the Atlantic side continues. Slight risk of severe weather being indicated. Earlier today, they actually had an enhanced risk there for the Georgia thunderstorms. And we've got a marginal risk for severe weather from northwest Texas northward up through western Kansas and into western Nebraska and easternmost Colorado, which we saw that north-south band, almost like a stick there, north-south band showing up on the radar. Now, for tomorrow into Saturday morning, the Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk in eastern Kansas, except the extreme east, where it's a marginal risk, and the marginal risk goes from north central and northeast Texas northward into Iowa and southern Minnesota. We also have a second area of marginal risk covering much of South and North Carolina. So that is for this is for Friday into Saturday. Then for Saturday into Sunday, we have a large area of slight risk. Northern Louisiana, northward through Missouri into Illinois, marginal risk going up to southern Wisconsin, including Chicago and Milwaukee. General thunderstorms cut off right at about New York City on Saturday. So if you're north and east of that line, the Storm Prediction Center says no. If you're south and west of that line, the Storm Prediction Center says yes. And predictability too low for day 4. Day 5, potential too low, and then it goes back to predictability too low for days 6, 7, and 8. This time of year, when you get very warm like this, it dries the ground up pretty fast. And a quarter of an inch of rain ain't going to cut it. And that's pretty much what they have. A quarter to about a half. It's a half to 3/4 in western New York and western PA, and also in northern New York. The rain starts to diminish over the next 7 days as that upper low pulls out. So what you see in coastal Florida is mostly front end loaded. We've got up to several inches or more of heavy rain in southeast Louisiana. Also, I think a lot of that may be front end loaded. and out along the west coast. We've got several to many inches right along the immediate coast over the next 7 days, with lesser amounts inland. I did see a question here. I just lost it. Where'd it go? Somebody was asking. I just caught it. Oh, Johnny Quest would like to know, Joe, is there a meteor shower this weekend?
No, there isn't. There is the annual Lyrid meteor shower comes later next week, say Thursday, Friday, and next Saturday. I might point out, however, the Lyrids are, out of the 10 top meteor showers of the year, the Lyrids are like near the bottom of the list. You want to go outside and wait, 5-10 minutes for a streak to come whizzing on past you, be my guest. But it's not one of the better showers. It's probably the oldest meteor shower. The Chinese recorded this shower way back in like 680 BC, and it's been coming ever since. But it's just simply not one that occasionally it's had some spurts of activity where it's put on some really great shows, but more often than not, it's like, eh. So, but nothing going on. But Johnny, it wouldn't matter if you live in this area. Even if we had a very good meteor shower schedule, what are you going to see of it? You're not going to see anything. You will see hydrometeors probably beginning Saturday afternoon into part of Sunday if you live in the tri-state area. But regular shooting stars and that kind of stuff, you just ain't going to see it with all the cloud cover.
All right, looking ahead in the long range, of course, the traffic has been jammed up with this upper low. And I'll just back up here to earlier this week. You could actually see the ridge in the southwest that builds over the top of this upper low that was sitting over Louisiana. And of course, you get this flow around it that brings up all this moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. And it lined up nicely for the east coast of Florida. When I say nicely, I don't mean that in a good way. But the ridge is breaking down, so the upper low now gets to respond to the trough. Another trough that comes into the west, because that's what troughs do and have done for months now. So that lifts up, and that's the reason why, even though the upper low weakens, this leftover moisture will be around, and that's why there's still enough of a signature there on the map Saturday morning in West Virginia. There's still a little closed height line there. So that lifts up, and that brings clouds and maybe some showers around during Saturday at some point. And then the main trough will swing around and then come through. Looks like it's a little slower. So it comes through on Monday, and then that lifts up. But meanwhile, I was noticing when I was looking at this long range on a couple of the GFS runs, it's just insane how the troughing just keeps going in the west. And they all do it like this, do it the same way, Joe. They either start out up in easternmost Russia or up in Alaska, and then they just drop southward. And here's another one next week that drops southward into the northwest, and then gradually swings eastward. While you got another little ridge that tries to develop there in the middle part of next week in the east. Not like what we just had, but we do get some ridging. And then as soon as that pulls out, there's a little bit of a break in the west for a couple of days, and then here comes another one, and then another one, and that one goes all the way down into Southern California, and then another one. I mean, it's just insane how this pattern. We've seen patterns lock in for a couple of months at a time, maybe 9-10 weeks. I mean, this is going on, but. Starting from late December, so January, February, March. This is going on 4 months now, where the basic overall pattern, except for just minor interruptions, has remained unchanged in the West.
It is kind of amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
Oh, it's endless. So, but at least the traffic is moving, and that's good. And I think the other plus that we can take from this is it's not the type of setup in the east, in the northeast anyway. I mean, you'll have some days where you'll have an onshore flow with a south wind, but it's not an upper air setup that would favor, say, a big high building in eastern Canada with an endless northeast flow where you're just gloom and doom for days and days. So at least if we want to look at it from that standpoint, it is a positive. Oh, look at all that snow there on the 306 hour.
Yeah, well, the excuse me, the Climate Prediction Center actually has on their 8 to 14 day hazards map.
Would you like to
They
show
actually
it?
have. Well, I could show it if you want.
Yes, I want you to show it.
Oh,
We are,
right. Well,
we are a visual medium, Joe. This is not radio.
yes. Well, don't you disabled participant screen sharing?
No, I
so,
just enabled it. I'm enabling you.
Yes. All right. So there it is. I'm going to just show snow. There you go. And I'm going to. Well, that's blowing it up too much. But you can see from the 21st to the 23rd, which would be Friday into next weekend, they do have a slight chance for heavy snow over a good part of Idaho and western Montana, and also a strip. And of course, this strip that we're looking at here, and I'll blow that up. That strip is more or less indicative of the Cascades all the way down to the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Again, a slight chance from the 21st to the 23rd. So if you are a snow lover and you want to see snow, maybe you might want to head out west, young man or young lady, for next weekend. That may be those areas that are outlined there may be the place to go. As far as anything else of significance, there's really no hazards posted for temperature, precipitation wise. Same time frame, 21st to 23rd, along the Pacific coasts of Washington, Oregon, and northern sections of California. And let's see, what else do we have? How about wind? Any wind problems? No. So the only hazards that are being indicated is out here, out west, for rain and possible snow, again, late next week into, not this weekend, but next weekend.
All right. Folks. Anthony Sparaccio, the birthday boy, happy birthday. And he also hit the tip jar. Thank you, Anthony, and many, many more to you. And again, another super chat hit here from Frank Scalera, hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Frank, for hitting la tip jar. All right, let's run through the GFS here tonight. There's your little low. There's a surface low with this upper low in Mississippi, and you see how all that moisture starts to lift northward. But by Friday evening, there's rain in southern Virginia, North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee. There's it says rain over me, which would be nice because we've a little bit on the dry side here. And then the showers start to generate again during the day on Saturday as that upper feature goes by across northern Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and then into the Hudson Valley, Long Island, and southern New England. Then that goes out to the east. Meanwhile, there's more energy that's in the west with a low there in Kansas. That starts to turn northeastward and heads up towards the Great Lakes. You see some snow there in Minnesota and Iowa. So this is for Sunday. You look at this, Joe, I think you might have a chance on Sunday. You'll probably break out into some sun. Fingers crossed on that. It's not a guarantee, but all the rain stays out, which is good. And then sometime later Sunday night into Monday morning, you get the cold front to come through with showers and maybe a rumble or two of thunder, but I don't think it's going to be anything to write home about. And then we'll start next week. We'll turn cool enough to take temperatures back down close to normal for Tuesday and Wednesday. Then it looks like it might warm up a little bit as we head toward the end of the week, but it does kind of try to build a high on late Thursday of next week down New England with a bit of an onshore flow there. So there's some kind of backdoor front that tries to come through on Thursday. And then it goes back up, and then you get another cold front. But there's nothing major here. something coming out of the Rockies there around day 10 that heads up to the northeast, and who knows if that's even real, if there's going to be a 976 low in over Lake Ontario on Tuesday, April the 25th. Well, it isn't even cold. It's only cold enough even in places where it usually snows, like in a situation like this in the wintertime, to just do a sort of cheap thrill glorified mix, if that were the case. And again, it'll be gone on the next run anyway, so who cares? And there you have it. So there's nothing. There's nothing. This is that time of year. You know, we just finished the winter. We're still a ways away from hurricane season. So this is sort of we're kind of in weather no man's land unless we get a big severe weather outbreak. So that's pretty much how it's going to run between now and June.
I'm just looking at the high temperature at Westchester County Airport today. It must have come sometime between 3:56 and 4:56. All right, so it's between 4 and 5 o'clock. The temperature at the Westchester Airport, 89 degrees. That didn't just break. That shattered the old record, which was 82, set in 1977. And we mentioned this yesterday, Joe. Tomorrow's record at the airport is almost certainly going to be broken. Hey, you know, if they can hold on to the mild temperatures or the warm temperatures until midnight, they'll break it at midnight, because the record tomorrow is only 78, set back in 1968. So that's a cheapy record high. That's going by the boards tomorrow. And then again, we'll see temperatures most everywhere drop back into the 70s and 60s, a much cooler airflow for the upcoming weekend.
And if you were lucky enough to live in Bridgeport, you set a record high today of 79, which actually you hit it at 12:53 p.m. and breaking the old record of 74 set in 1968. And that was the high for the day at Bridgeport because Mr. Seabreeze came in. I was looking at the temperatures there. They just actually dropped to just a few degrees, but they actually dropped from that peak with the wind coming in off Long Island Sound. But you didn't have to go that far inland. I did save it, so I might as well bring it up. I forgot that I had this. Just give me a moment here. I did make 2 high temperature maps from the hazards map. So these were some of the highs that you see in upstate New York. Now the 98 that shows up east of Hartford is clearly a mistake. So either the thermometer was in the sun or it should be 88. But it did get to 90 in Hartford at Brainerd and 91 to the north of Hartford. Wyndham got to 91. Providence got to 88. Boston got to 85. And just west of Boston, it got to 90. And I've got the other map, so we could take a look at areas a little bit further to the south. And that's this one. And these were the highs as of 4 p.m. So it's possible that this time of year you have to really wait till 5 o'clock to see what the final numbers are. But at least as of 4 p.m., a middle to upper 80s on Long Island, got to low 80s on the East End, 90 at LaGuardia. I know it broke a record at Kennedy. I think they got to 90, 91 at Newark. That was the highest that I saw. Mostly upper 80s and a few low 90s. There was a 92 there up in East Passaic County. White Plains, Joe. What did it get? Did you do White Plains when you were talking before? Because I was busy pulling up. Okay.
89.
89. Okay. And Capixie got to, I believe, 91.
We're not seeing any maps, by the way. I don't know if you meant to show a map of high temperatures.
I did. That's because I didn't switch it. I thought I switched it.
Well, you didn't.
Oh, there you go. So there. All right, let me get that out of there. So there you go. So that's what it looked like in areas from eastern PA to southern New England. I mean, you really had to be either right on the beach. You really had to be right on the right along the immediate coast, maybe a mile inland, to get these temperatures that got to the 70s and then probably fell back. So even with I mean, we had a solid westerly gradient the last 2 days, and it's still, because of the difference in the water temperatures, does not keep the sea breeze completely at bay. You get a setup like this in the summertime, and when the water temperatures are up closer to 70, and then we'd be having a whole different conversation. I've got one more of these maps that I can show. Get rid of this. And this is for central and south Jersey, southern PA, down into Delaware, and around the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. Actually, it was a little bit lower here because of how the ridge set up. So it was mostly middle and upper 80s from northeast Virginia on up into southern New Jersey and into southern Pennsylvania. And there you have it. Now there you have it. All right, where did I go? Here I am. Okay, so I think I have a Briller Jeopardy tonight. So everybody on the chat board, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay, so
I'm ready.
There are 8 states that begin with the letter M, as in Mary. M, as in Mary. So let us now join hands in celebration and name those 8 states.
All right.
So Keith James II has Montana, Mississippi, and Maine. So there's 3 of them.
How about Maryland?
Maryland, yes, Maryland, and Rich Rothmansky mentions Minnesota. And Artsai or Arisai. I can't see if that's a T. It's a T. Artsai. Massachusetts. Mark D42, Missouri from Jason Schaefer. So we have, let's see. Michigan.
How many states?
There are 8 states with the letter M.
I got them all now.
Oh, did we? Did we? Oh, Jason says Mississippi. I don't think that was mentioned.
Mississippi, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Maryland.
Montana.
Maine.
The great state of Maine. I was waiting for somebody to mention the great state of Maine.
Minnesota.
Michigan.
And Missouri.
So you got them. Now, now these 8 states begin with the letter N, as in Nancy. N, as in Nancy. Are you ready? Go.
I'm going. I'm trying here.
N. Okay, Nebraska is mentioned. New Jersey, Mark D42, North Carolina. I feel like I'm Bob Barker doing the parade of states. Dennis, Cassia, and Tim, who is also known as Latex Dreams. Nebraska. I really wonder about that sometimes. Northern Grace is Nodiak. Nodak? North Dakota. Okay, I got it. Nodak, North Dakota. Thank you. I'm usually not good with acronyms, so but it takes me a little while. I do attempt to figure it out. I see Nevada, Tommy Clams and Trish Sparacchio mentioning Nevada, and New Mexico, also from Trish, and David Carter's he's still on the M, so he's got Maryland, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. So there are 8 states with the letter N.
I'm coming up short by 1. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
All right, so name the ones you got.
North Dakota.
Right.
North Carolina.
Nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina in the morning. Yes. All right, go on.
New York.
Okay.
New Jersey.
Okay.
Nebraska.
Okay.
Nevada.
Okay.
New Mexico.
Okay. And
And
the state that I have often, if I haven't seen anybody mention it, the state that I have finally, William Huber's got it.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, paradise, Joe. New Hampshire is paradise. Any state that when you drive into it says, "Welcome to New Hampshire, live free or die," is the first sign. The second sign you see as you're driving, I think it's up 91. The second sign you see is state liquor store with an arrow. Okay, any state that does that has, and it's like tax free or whatever it is. So any state that does that has my vote. I love New Hampshire. I could have, as much as I love North Georgia, I loved New Hampshire so very much.
Didn't you used to talk about how you and your brother would love to fish on Lake Winnipesaukee?
Oh yeah, we would drive. My brother would drive his boat past Mitt Romney's house, and we would just like splash the water on purpose, just to, ripple it up. Supposedly, he had these giant fans underneath the water to move the water out to help him bring his boats, plural, in. And the other thing is, the boats. He had like a dozen garages. It had to be a dozen, like a 12-car garage, but it was a 12-boat garage. Every once in a while, you'd catch him in Wolfsboro in town at the ice cream store.
Oh, hi. How are you? Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. All right. Well, we had fun tonight, did we not?
Well, this was the highlight of my day.
I
mean,
Oh, Ethel, really? Oh, good Lord.
Fred.
What did I do today? I mean, that just shows you. I mean, I really didn't do anything special. I went to Walmart. But that's it. Oh, God. All right. Well, while I try to remember what my life was like today, we will say goodnight to everybody. Have a safe night and a safe weekend. I will be back Sunday soloing at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So do join me. So I don't have to do the show alone, and Joe's not going to be here.
Get a guest. Ask Bill Goodman.
I could do that.
Ask Tony Gigi.
I could do that.
If you
Tony,
really
Tony, our show goes. Tony's at mass when our show is on. So the Sunday show for him is not doesn't time right. He's at church.
You really want to spice things up? Ask Dave Tolerous to come on.
Oh God, Charm School graduate himself. Everybody knows I love Dave. Okay, I do love Dave. He's a little bit. His diploma from Charm School is still waiting. It's in the principal's drawer. He has to go back and redo a few classes, but we will have Dave on again. Nighty night, everybody. Thanks. Do you want to thank everybody again who hit the tip jar?
Well, we have the Sparaccios who hit it, and happy birthday again to Mr. Sparaccio,
Anthony,
and Frank Scalera. He hit super chats as well. Thank you very much, Frank.
And 69 likes. Okay, folks. Nighty night.